guys, so today's video is going to be all about my first semester of clinicals. I had a few requests for this video, so sorry, that's my dog. Shh. He's apparently very upset at something. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so this is obviously, like I said, I just got done with my first semester of nursing school and I had my first semester of clinicals, obviously. Actually, some nursing schools, you don't do clinicals until you are in your second semester or even later on after that. I know that a couple of the nursing schools that I had already applied to wouldn't have started clinicals until the second semester, and I'm gonna be kind of honest and say that I think that might be a better option for the schools, and not that I have any control over that, but I can tell you that the first time that I went to the hospital was quite literally the first time I'd ever been in a hospital, and I was scared. You know, granted, I could have been a CNA or something like that before it, but I wasn't, so this is a whole new situation for me. Anyways, this was my first semester of clinicals, and my clinicals were in a diabetic renal floor. Throughout my nursing cohort, we all were in groups. I think we had about 5 groups, and each group went to a different floor at a different hospital, or like a different floor on the same hospital. Some people had med-surg, they kind of varied. But yeah, so for the first couple days of clinicals, we met on Monday it was initially supposed to be from like 7 to 1, but some days we had to be there at like 6 or like 5:30. But yeah, so we met from 7 to 1, and the first couple of days we were in the lab and we learned how to do things in the lab on like mannequins, or we were just being lectured. The first day of clinicals we actually had how many hours is that? 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1. We had a 6-hour lecture, and honey, I didn't think I was gonna make it, but I did. And then, you know, a couple weeks after that, we had, sorry, I'm talking really fast, the mannequins in the lab to work on. We did like catheters, and, you know, we learned about the oxygen, how to put that up, how to do incentive spirometry, however you say that word. And we also had a day where we went in and had a full simulation. The mannequin was able to talk to you, was able to respond to what you were doing, and I think that was really helpful. And to be honest, I wish that we had more days of simulation, because I felt like I was gaining a lot more confidence in doing that. When we went into simulation, you went in with either 2 or 3 people, but there was 4 roles. So like one person was doing medication, one person was the leader in charge, and then there was a vitals and then an assessment person. I had the assessment and I was the leader, the clinical leader, and I feel like I learned a lot just from that day, because you actually are given like 20 minutes to go in there and get all those things done. And I don't know, I just wish that we had more of that. But on to what I'm sure you came to watch this video. So now on to the hospital portion of the clinicals. I believe we had 5 or 6 days actually in the hospital. And like I said, mine was a diabetic renal floor. And so the first day that I went in there, I was very much like, I haven't learned anything. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I can do. So yeah, the first day, the way we did it, I was given 1 patient and I would work with that 1 patient for the day. And mind you, 6 hours is a very, very long time to work with 1 patient, especially on a diabetic renal floor when some patients go to dialysis for 4 hours, you know, which is practically the whole time that you're there. But anyways, so the first day I went in and I was very scared. I walked into my patient's room, and like, let me just tell you, you have to be confident, and please, dear God, do not do what I did. But I walked into my patient's room, and I'm not going to use his real last name. I don't think I even remember his last name. That's a lie, I totally do. I'm just gonna call him Mr. X. So I walk into the room and I'm like, Mr. X, trying to assert myself and tell him that I'm there, but he was sleeping. So then I just kind of stood there and waited to see if he was gonna respond to me, and he didn't. So I said, Mr. X, and still didn't respond. And I walked a little closer, tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, Mr. X, and still no response. Like, I knew he wasn't like dying. Like I saw him breathing, his heart monitor was still going, so I was like, okay, I guess he's just sleeping. So I just stood there. I stood in the room for like 2 minutes, just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Because I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to wake him up. But I also had things that I needed to get done. I needed to get his assessment done. I needed to get his vitals. But I was just so scared to wake him up just because I was being very, very timid that day. And I mean, it's a funny story to tell, but you know, looking back on it, I should have just like gone over, like nudged him a little bit more and see if he would have waken up. But yeah, so I just went and asked the nurse that had the patient if she would mind waking him up for me, because like I said, it was my first day. I was really scared and he was not answering me. Probably was not the right choice to make. I'm sure I looked like I didn't know what I was doing to that nurse, but I mean, honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, that was the first day, and there was a lot of sitting around the first day, not just by me, but by like other people. Like we don't know enough to do a lot there. You know, like we did linen changes, we did the vitals, you know, things like that. As the clinicals went on and, you know, I got more comfortable and more in the group with things, I started asking the nurses if I could follow them around rather than just focusing on that one patient. Like, yes, I still catered towards that patient, but I asked them if I could follow them around to all patients, all of their patients that they see in a day. And I recommend that so much. I cannot stress to you how, like, my clinical instructor didn't say that we could do that, but she also wasn't mad when I told her that that's what I did. She was very happy that I did that. So I would recommend doing it. If you get in trouble for doing it, I don't see why you would, because, you know, you're getting more experience and you're going to learn a lot more. But I recommend doing that. And when I started following the nurses around, I got to see how they prioritize their days, how they prioritize the patients, into which one they're going to see first, which one gets their medicines first. Because the way that this floor worked, everybody had, I think it was 10 a.m. meds, but when you have 6 patients that all need medications at 10 a.m., you have to find who can take their medicine early, who can't take their medicine early, and then delineate between those who you're going to see first. That was probably the most helpful part, seeing how they organized. Some helpful things that I could tell you is, one of the nurses I followed around, he kept gauzes, bandages, the little like green ends for the IV tubes. I'm sorry, I cannot think of the name for that. Yeah, but he kept that all in his, and saline syringe flush. He kept those all in his pants all through the day because you need those, and it kind of wastes time if you have to go back to the storage unit and get those rather than having them already prepared with you. So that was a really good piece of advice that I got. So yeah, the rest of the days were awesome because I got to follow those nurses around. Some nurses are not going to want you to follow them around. They are not going to talk to you. I had a nurse that didn't want anything to do with me. I introduced myself and then she was like, bye-bye, see you later. And that's fine. She was probably really stressed out. I know that they were short-staffed, so she doesn't have to cater to my needs, you know? Like, I can do what I came here to do, and you know, it is a teaching hospital, but she's not obligated to let me follow her around. And it's important to know that during your clinical experience, although you are in a teaching hospital and the patients are supposed to sign forms that say it's okay, that there are students in there, you know, yada, 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 people still aren't going to want you in there. And I had a couple people that acted that way towards me, and you know, like the first time I went in there and I took her vitals and she did not want me to even do that. So I said, are you sure? Like, I know what I'm doing. But, you know, I had to respect her wishes and come out of the room. I was then later sent in there by one of the nurses to do her assessment because she was going to, I think she was getting, I don't remember what she was getting. She was getting some type of procedure done. And so I was going to go in there and do an assessment just to make sure like she was okay and she could do it. And she said she didn't want me in there once again. And once again, I had to walk out and not go back in there because, you know, like if they don't want you in there, they don't want you in there. That's their decision, not yours. So I have to deal with that a couple times. Within our first semester, we weren't allowed to do like injections or like IVs or anything like that. So we were just doing like basic stuff. Like we could do all the CNA tasks, you know, catheters, medications, we could do that. That's probably the most advanced thing that we can do. But like I said, any experience is good experience. There were definitely a lot of downtime because we honestly didn't learn, not that we didn't learn that much, but we were not competent enough in some tasks. Like we didn't learn how to do the syringes or, you know, IV push or anything like that. So I couldn't do that. And if I did, you know, the nurse that was watching you do that or that let you do that or knew you were doing that could possibly lose her job. So I wasn't going to do that. And not to mention your clinical instructor could also lose their job. But yeah, so overall, my clinical experience the first semester was awesome. Like I got to experience some really cool things. I got to see somebody flush an IV, you know, the IV, hang the IV, do all that stuff, and that stuff we're doing next semester. So that was pretty cool. Like I could see what we are going to be learning next semester already. And then I got to see, you know, NG tube feedings and medications, things like that. Got to see some really cool things. I didn't get to see any surgeries, but that's okay because I wasn't on a med-surg floor, but I learned lots about dialysis, which is fine. My clinical group was with 5 people, and I mean, you just have to be prepared. Like, not everyone's gonna get along all the time, every day. I try to get along with people as best as I can. You know, you have to, if you're gonna be a nurse, you can't be a mean person, and you have to get along with people. So, you know, you're always gonna encounter, you know, the little bumps in the road, but it'll all get better. You know, my clinical group ended up, you know, liking each other by the end of it. My clinical group ended up having a really good time. Afterwards, we went and got some mimosas because we needed it on our last day. So yeah, my advice is just to be prepared. Make sure you do your readings and stuff like that. And make sure if you have the lab beforehand, make sure you pay attention to that in your labs because, I mean, you're going to be expected to do that on a patient when you get there. Be confident in yourself, please. Please be confident in yourself. Know that you have a voice and you are there for a reason. You got into nursing school for a reason and you are in this hospital for a reason, which I have to tell myself over and over and over again because sometimes I'm like, what are you doing here? You know, like I still feel like a little kid, but yeah, just be confident in yourself. Be prepared to be standing on your feet for hours. Eat before you go, because if you don't, you're going to be very hungry. And also bring a water bottle. Some places don't have lockers for you, but I carried around my water bottle because I need to stay hydrated or else I'm a little cranky. I hope that I gave you a good, like, mishmash of what happened in my first semester of clinicals. If you have like any specific questions on what happened in my clinicals, I kind of just gave you like a really fast overview. You know, feel free to leave that down below and I will answer your questions. And yeah, until next time, bye!